make a short live. Didn't do it in a while, was busy at work. So anyone who is joining, welcome. And we'll talk today again about Ukraine. And if you have any questions about Soviet Union, you can ask those too. Let's see, I'm just gonna launch it on here. All right, here we go. So we are ready to go. Just wait until somebody will show up. It's kind of late tonight. It seems to have 2 likes and not a single viewer. It's kind of interesting. Okay, here we go. I'll make sure the guy's sound is okay. Glory to Ukraine. Thank you for your support. For those who were asking, my family in Ukraine doing okay. Everything moved down south. That's where the major war going on. And once again, if you have any questions about Ukraine or questions about life in the Soviet Union, I'm here for you to help. And I'll be looking at my main screen because that's easier to read than your comments. Thank you everyone for joining my channel. There was someone recently asked me a question, how do I see the future of hello, Aaron. Thank you for joining. Thank you for supporting my work. By the way, there's several ways you can support my channel. One of them will be by becoming a member of this channel. There's a join button below every video of mine. So, okay, we got first question. What happens if Russia succeeds? What is Russia's success? Well, the way the current events, Russia will not succeed. It's just, if you think about sumo wrestling, right now we have NATO, United States on one side helping Ukraine versus Russia, and no one is helping. And yes, Russia is the largest country in the world, but it's only 2% of the world GDP, while United States by itself is 25%. I think European Union maybe even more, like 30%. So you have 50% of the world economy versus 2% of the world economy. And the Ukrainians showed quite a resilience and the willing to fight. So it's definitely, I don't see how that possible for Russia to pull. It's just to announce a total mobilization. And it's kind of, if you think about it, how the Stalin dealt with Finland, there's a lot of similarities. They also were talking, I just read about the Finnish war for a little bit, and Soviet newspapers were calling Finland blaha, trying to think about what is that English word. So there's that little bug that crawls over you, hops on you, usually on the hair, and bites you. Anyway, blaha. So lice, here you go. So they were calling Finland a lice that hops around, and it takes just one hit, and that will be done with Finland, and you know how it went. So, but Finland is a way smaller country with way smaller population than Ukraine if you compare apples to apples. And Stalin ended up sending so much force and troops into Finland to win. And as you know, no one was helping Finland, or at least like effectively. Germany signed off the agreement with Stalin about Finland being in the sphere of interest of Stalin. So in order for Russia to bring as much troops to Ukraine as Stalin brought to Finland, it's 8 million army. They need to bring 8 million soldiers plus tanks and everything else just to make same versus territory and population for Ukraine. And there's no way Russia can do that. They just don't have, I mean, they can do mobilization, but then you need weapons, and they're already shipping T-62 tanks into Melitopol, which is like, so they're running out of tanks. Soon they're gonna run out of high precision missiles because of the sanctions. They don't get any more parts from the West. So it's I hope it will stop quickly, but Putin, he doesn't care about his people and he doesn't care about anybody else. He just wants to stay at power because he knows that God is waiting for him. So I don't see how Russia can succeed. Success for Russia will be if they uh, manage to remain as one country. Because if you think about it, Russia is the last uh, land-based empire that still kind of exists in its remnant. If you remember, after World War One, Austro-Hungarian Empire collapsed, disappeared, and Russian Empire. Uh, Russia lost Finland, lost Baltic states, lost Poland, and then, of course, out in the east, because they lost the war to Japan, they lost a lot of territories there, like half of the Sakhalin island. But then they managed to survive, and actually, let's hope they all end up back in Mordor. Joshua, thank you for support, appreciate it. So now, when Stalin came to power, I mean, there was a different color of the flag and a different conversation, because communists were actually going for the whole world, right? That's the whole plan, was to make the whole world communist, right? The world revolution. And in 1939, 1940, it's actually all these sacrifices and industrialization, starving millions of people in Ukraine and Kazakhstan and Russia, all that kind of paid off in 39-40 when Stalin took back Baltic states. He failed with Finland, and then he took giant chunk of Poland. But then, of course, Soviet Union collapsed and Russia shrunk again. So now I think is the next step, because Russia it's a federation, and actual Russians, it's like Moscow region, St. Petersburg, and the rest, it's all occupied territories that they occupied for the last 300 years. And there's a lot of people that have nothing to do with being in Russia, Dagestan, Chechnya, Yakutia, Far East. So I think Putin realized what's going on. That's why he worked so hard in putting together, he did again, people couldn't elect their own governors. They were sent from Moscow. So he kind of got it all back, like trying to hold it together. Then he fought Chechnya, second war, to keep them together. So Russia will be lucky if after Putin is gone and war is over, if Russia will remain as a one piece. And it will be better generally for everyone else for Russia to fall apart just like Soviet Union did, and then you have central part like Moscovia again, that always were called Moscovia, right? And then you have in all those republics in the Caucasian area, they'll be on their own. They're gonna do whatever, form some Caucasian republic, Yakutia, and all that. So, but I don't know. It's it's a challenging question. So there's also Aaron asking, isn't China kind of land empire? Somewhat. I didn't study China much. I know there's some that population they have issue with Muslim population, but I thought they kind of. I'm not sure how much they have other territories occupied, but yeah, I'm not sure. Do you think Putin was hoping for more help from China? Oh, he definitely was counting on that, because in his mind, he wants to build this multipolar world, because right now technically we have like one cup, right? The United States, after Soviet Union disappeared, there was no counterbalance. So the United States could do whatever they want, and so his idea was we need multipolar world, and this is why I'm gonna attack Ukraine, because I can't have a strong Russian world. It's like my phone right now is on a tripod, and it's basically the idea of Putin and that Russian world is a tripod, and three legs is the Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus, and you can't have a two-legged tripod. So, and he was, of course, China definitely, they're working. I'm not sure exactly like what their grand plan. They definitely don't like that the United States calls the shots and dominates everywhere in the world. By the way, if you guys just joined, don't forget to like this live. It's only got 26 likes. You can add some more. It may help to move up in this mysterious YouTube algorithm. My channel recently just kind of flat, no heartbeat, no growth whatsoever. I'm not sure what happened, but it just like people watching channel, but no one subscribes. It's pretty wild, but it is what it is. So yes, it definitely. I mean, I don't know if you read, Putin postponed actual invasion on the request of China because Putin, he's a lot about these numbers and all this other out there stuff. Because if you remember, uh, thank you, Comrade Kulakapov, Kapitolsky, my goodness, Slava Ukraini, Героям Slava, thank you for your support. So if you remember, he attacked Georgia on 8/08 2008, and it was success for him. West kind of let it slide. He helped South Ossetia to become independent. Now he's like, hey, by the way, Ossetia wants to join Russia. Surprise, surprise. Um, so, all right, we got a question from Miran. Did you have to take courses in Michigan to be certified as an engineer in USA? No. All I had to do was to send my diploma and kind of like a explanation of what I did back in Kiev. I sent there's a special company that specialize in certifications. So they just looked at my what I did and they said that yeah, you are your bachelor of electronics, and that's pretty much you have a degree of engineer, and you are actually my degree is more equal to master's, but because it's 6 years, but they looked at it and they said no because you had an evening school part of it. So no, I didn't have to take any courses, and I don't really work as an engineer, but it definitely helped me to get my job where I work right now, the local power plant. So yeah, so I believe Putin originally had a plan. Thank you for your donation, Aaron. I appreciate it. Thank you for your question. He originally planned once again to play this magic lucky number and attacked on February 22nd, 2022. So he had luck with 8/8, 2008. Now it's 2/22, 2022. But it was right at the end of the Olympics in China. And it's basically, I read, I mean, I don't know, I wasn't there, that China wanted him to postpone for a couple of days so they can wrap up their Olympics. Everything is good. And then you go ahead. So they definitely, I mean, China has issue with Taiwan, right? They want that back under their control. So I have no doubts if they will see if there will be not much support from United States, and if there'll be lukewarm reaction, they probably would go for Taiwan. Now they might have second thoughts on that. Okay, I guess Russia was never a superpower. Well, you become a superpower just from having a nuclear weapons. I mean, if you can wipe out the rest of the world, you're a superpower. Of course, the way the Soviet Union, it was like a bodybuilder has a big biceps but no legs, and this is pretty much what Soviet Union was. The economy was really skewed. They spent just because the economy was so ineffective, they couldn't support spending money on military and provide for the rest of the people. Like they were spending millions and billions of dollars buying wheat from Canada, where you Trevor lives, from United States, from Australia, and now, uh, Russia is the number one exporter of wheat in the world, and Ukraine is number five. And they're talking about world hunger because supplies of wheat are falling down due to this war. Do you know about Konstantin from inside Russia? He is very anti-war and pro-Ukraine. No, I don't communicate with hardly with anyone like other YouTubers. Uh, I have this kind of silly rule, I don't approach people if they want to talk to me, do some kind of collab. I'm open to it, but I don't want to run around and chase people. The only people that I collaborate work with was the Cold War channel from Canada. If you remember, I went there. They invited me, so and I went there. We had the good video. It's on their channel. You're welcome to check it out. The Cold War channel. One of the guys who running the show, he's actually also from the Azerbaijan, from the former Soviet Union. So another donation, and thank you so much, Bones Mode. How culturally different is Western Ukraine in relation to Eastern Ukraine? I can tell you about Eastern Ukraine because Eastern Ukraine has a complicated story, but like Central Ukraine, like Kyiv, right? First of all, because of the Russification, and I'm planning to make a video about it, uh, we all spoke Russian, right? In Western Ukraine was they all spoke Ukrainian, and that Ukrainian was different. Culturally, yes, they were, they missed the most horrible part of being in Soviet Union, Holodomor of the 1930s, because at that time they were under Poland, right? The western part was there, so they didn't have Holodomor, uh, and that's affect greatly Ukrainians in eastern part and central part. Millions died, and people kind of, the I guess the will was broken, like Stalin broke the back of Ukrainian nation. I honestly don't know if that was his main purpose. He just needed wheat, grain to sell to the West to build his tank factories. So Westerners, they're more hardcore, like nationalism. It's there from there, and it's pretty much it's what came. Like when I became first-time nationalist in late '80s, it's because people were coming from the Western Ukraine and they bring in you know, badges and all these symbols of, the Trizub, all that stuff. So Western Ukraine kind of has the core of this national idea of Ukraine, and the eastern part was, quite Russification happened because also they brought a lot of Russians. So they were replacing, millions of Ukrainians died. So they brought people from the villages in Russia and they placed them there. The whole Donbas area where people were building, factories and building mines to mine coal. A lot of this were they're sent criminals. Like your punishment is a labor camp. You go to Donbas to build a coal mine or build a factory, and then they settle down there. So that whole area is really like a hardcore Russian speaking, and like a lot of this criminality was going on. Um, Even back in the Soviet Union, if there will be some, that was the highest drunk killing. Town goes against town, these young teenagers, they have chains and wooden sticks with the lead filling, so they were like fighting and beating each other, breaking bones, like they were hardcore. Like if you say gopnik, but the gopnik, the most serious gopniks were like in the eastern Ukraine and western Ukraine. I said they spoke Ukrainian, all of them. A lot of them are Catholic, not Russian Orthodox, and their language was slightly different. Like I said, they instead of vohony, which is fire, they say vatra. So yeah, and I think it's what anybody of you who read Gulag Archipelago, right, by Solzhenitsyn, he mentions, it's kind of interesting. I was really interested. He wasn't a big fan of the Western Ukrainians, those nationalists that got sent to the camps where Solzhenitsyn was, because Solzhenitsyn, he's a Russian Empire guy. He actually pro-Russia. He's anti-Soviet, but he's a pro-Russia. And he didn't like those guys, but he mentioned that those guys were hardcore, and a lot of uprisings in the camps happened because of Ukrainians. He said they were like fighters. They came, and they really stirred the pot in those camps. All right, what else we got? Questions. AB, thank you for joining. Best case scenario, Ukraine wins and gets back all the territory from 2014. What then? They need nukes and be member of NATO. I would support it. Best case scenario, Putin is dead and Russia falls apart. And that will be best case scenario for everyone because it's just the way the whole this great Russian imperial thinking, it just keep on coming back. But yeah, for Ukraine, I mean, they don't want to go and because there's a lot of former Ukrainians live in like Krasnodar region, based on the Putin's way he's dealing with, say, hey, Krasnodar, there's a lot of people they still speak Ukrainian. We want to have Ukrainian world there, and occupy Krasnodar region or Taganrog region. Before 1919 agreement with Soviet Russia, Taganrog area was part of Ukraine. Of course, Putin forgot to mention that in his famous speech that Lenin created Ukraine, apparently. So, but yeah, and of course, Ukraine quite disappointed because NATO is really like a shy girl in the dance club. She wants to dance, but then she's like, so they support Ukraine, but of course, we don't want to talk about you being part of NATO. We don't want to. They're afraid of Putin. That's the main reason. And of course, once Putin is gone, there will be a different conversation there. There's a comment about Chernobyl. It was probably a bad idea to be digging in Chernobyl, but all that stuff was blown out of proportion. When all this stuff, everything settles down, we're probably going to learn more about what happened in Chernobyl while it was under Russian occupation. All I know, I've seen pictures on Telegram channels and also there were telephone conversation intercepted. So the Russian soldiers were telling their wives, calling Russia, they steal the cell phone because their phones were taken away. And he was saying, hey, we had a couple of guys got sent back to Belarus because they had лучевая болезнь. So they had this acute radioactive poisoning. And there's a pictures in Gomel, which is Belarus. They have the only like a medical facility there for treating this acute radioactive poisoning. And there's the pictures of those Bukhanka was medical vans with the Z letter parked there. So they were bringing Russian troops to Gomel, to that radiation treatment facility. So I said, we'll find out more. I don't know. It's like I know a little bit about radiation, right? And I read some people who talking about that, hey, the amount of dose is not that bad, blah, blah, blah. It's all about there's a dose and there's a dose that goes inside your body, and that's what really can hurt you really bad when you swallow radioactive dust and you breathe in radioactive dust. That's when you have the most damage because like alpha particles, I think even your skin can stop it, right? And beta too, I think. It's a gamma and neutrons that really does like damage. They penetrate, you need to lead. But alpha and betas, they do a lot of damage, I guess, because they larger particles. So when you in those orange forests digging, you eating your food, you talking to people, that's when you get contamination, and that's the worst. Uh, if you work ever at some nuclear facilities like nuclear power plants, that's what the most concern is: airborne radiation. That's what they're afraid of. You have to wear masks, you have to wear serious respirators. Russian soldiers didn't have it, so yeah, even the doses didn't look like too bad. It's when you swallow that stuff, that's when you get really damaged and you can get radiation poisoning. So yeah, like when Chernobyl incident happened, it was everything in the air and just because of a huge dose. But currently, it's mostly if they stayed there for whole months. I can only imagine how much bad stuff they end up swallowing. So, all right, we're almost at the 100 likes. So if you guys can click that. So, but yeah, as I said, we'll find out. It's hard. I agree. math doesn't do, but if, yeah, polonium. Yeah, ask Putin how you can get tiny polonium and you'll be good. Yeah, my family in Ukraine is fine. Thanks for asking. I said my mom, she was pretty safe in that village, although there was a video from this one British guy who's on the Russian side, and he actually went to the village pretty close to my mom and made a report about Russians bringing some supplies for locals. So that was pretty wild to see the same area. I recognized it because I was there on that bus stop. So yeah, that's I was talking about once again about Chernobyl. If you drive through it, there's a cloud of dust of radioactive stuff, and people have no masks. So when you breathing in, so yeah, it's definitely what probably happened. I said I saw pictures. I need to dig more into it, but originally when I was mentioning Russian soldiers mentioned it on the phone with their wives, and then pictures of the Z letter medical vans in Gomel. So we'll find out. There's a lot of things to find out. Like, Russia still, since March 25th, can't say anything about um, their losses. They said the loss is so tiny they want to talk about it. So, the question: does your mom have a smartphone? Not. It's not really a smartphone. She's almost 75-year old now, so I bought her a phone with the big buttons because she wanted the one that she can dial. She doesn't care about anything. There's no internet there. Uh, so she doesn't need a smartphone. She just wanted some with large buttons. So I bought her a Chinese phone they have there, and that's what she's using to call my brother in Kiev, and that's how they stay in touch. So no, she doesn't have a smartphone. So. And I guess there is a conversation about degrading. There is some stuff, the radiation wise, but a lot of the goodies they stay active. Like half life is what 1,000 years or 500 years. So yeah, some of those like iodines were 30-day half life. Yeah, that's the stuff that affected me when I was there because I used to be short and dark haired, and I'm a tall blonde guy. So yeah, okay. What else we got? So we're gonna try to do today about 45 minutes and wrap it up. It's kind of getting late, but thank you everyone for joining. It's nice to see you all here. Jennifer is asking, do you really think all the Russians do not know what is going on? Russian friends of mine who came in the 70s to Canada said people always found out what was going on despite propaganda. You're correct. If you want to find out the truth, you can. Even back in the Soviet days, you could, buy a radio receiver and catch some Voice of America or Free Europe on other radio stations and listen to some other information, even if it was jammed real hardcore. I'm not sure what happened with this generation. I believe it's a lot of people in Russia they miss that greatness, And I talked about it before. They don't care about their own personal life. It's so crappy, and they know they can't do it any better. So at least they want to feel good about something. So they feel good about the great Russia and like Soviet Union. That country had respect, and that's what they want. They want respect. You know, so they miss that, and they're willing to continue their suffrage and sacrifice for, and well, that's what TV offers. They go to turn TV and they tell them, hey, Russia is a superpower, look at our powerful jets, and we just designed this new Iskander nuclear missiles, and we have this new missile that can wipe out Britain as with one rocket, and they feel good about it. So they don't want to even look for anything else because their life is so pathetic and they lost purpose, and a lot of people just couldn't adjust. I was lucky when Soviet Union collapsed. I was only 20, so it worked out really good for me. uh, some people who were a little bit older, it worked even better because that's the one that become rich. Just for me, just opportunities open because I could speak fluent English somewhat and made some money. If you read my book American Diaries 1995, I explained how it's all happened. and I wasn't wasting money, so I was able to travel, come to America. So yeah, if you guys want to get in touch with Konstantin and see if he's interested, we can try to work something out. I said I never did any collaborations like that. I really don't follow much people from Russia besides like people who cover current events, like more professional journalists like Redakция. There's a good videos. Then there's also there's a uh, Katz, this last name. He had to get out and move to Israel, but he does really good stories about Russia and just kind of current events. So what else we got? Do you believe the rumors that Putin is sick and that is why he is pushing this now? Well, when we originally recorded the very first video after the war began, when I was in shock, and one of the explanations I said it looks like uh, maybe he is definitely on his deathbed and he wants to leave some kind of big, thing after himself. So he will be in a history book as the guy who risked it all and restored the great Russia, because what he's doing is totally doesn't make any sense. So I definitely he doesn't look that great. They don't show him much, and they track that there's their top doctor who is dealing with all this oncology, this cancer diseases. He's constantly following Putin wherever Putin goes. So he probably got some serious cancer. I mean, there's so many people hate, and I don't know if you believe in all this voodoo and that you can pray for somebody to get sick. There's a possibility. So yeah, there's also rumors that real Putin is dead long time ago. Because if you compare all the pictures of Putin, there's like look like five different little variations of Putin. One looks more Asian, one has a wider face, one has a square chin. It's pretty insane. There's so many rumors, but yeah, I think he is sick, and there'll be great help for the humankind if he will go upstairs and see if there's Jesus for real or just the empty parking lot. So that'll be great for everyone. So yeah, about ham radios in Ukraine or Russia, I have no idea. I mean, there are some people. I have a subscriber who keep on sending me messages. He's hardcore in radios, and then he like unfortunately I don't have any information about people doing the same. They had to steal some radios because I don't think we had anything for sale. So yeah, I do believe that Putin is, and in one of the videos they show him, he's like holding to the table like for his dear life. So he definitely has something going on with him. So all right, we got another donation. Thank you so much. Can Ukrainians and Russians tell each other apart based on physical looks alone? Not really. I mean, I'm by nationality 98% Ukrainian, 2% Jew. But where I live here in Michigan, we have a lot of Volksdeutsch Germans that came from like from Ukraine, from Romania, from other areas that were displaced. So we have a lot of these Germans. So when they see me and they hear my accent, they start talking in German to me because for them I look German, and my accent is Eastern European accent. It sounds to me like German accent. So I don't think you can tell by the looks. Uh, a lot of similar. Yeah, it's can't really tell you because we have a blonde Ukrainian girls and we have dark hair. That's usually considered like Ukrainian girls have more like dark hair girls, but we had all of them. So I don't think by the looks you can really tell the difference. I can't. Same with Belarusians. They look pretty much the same. And I said when I did my DNA test here in the United States, it was like so boring. Like my wife's DNA came and she has German and French and Italian a little bit, and mine just says Eastern European, 2% Jew. That's it. It's like, oh my God, it was so boring. So we got some Frederick, probably Frederick from Hollywood, because he's asking how to pick up Ukrainian girls. Do they prefer a bold approach? Uh, I don't know what you mean bold approach, but you need to look attractive. You need to be nice, have a nice smile. So yeah, I don't know. It's I usually met my future girlfriends at some kind of party. Like I never had a luck to pick up a girl on a bus to stop or just somebody on the street. It's usually at some birthday party or New Year celebration, and there's this girl and she doesn't have a boyfriend, and you start talking to her and stuff like that. Slavic forehead is a dead giveaway. I don't know. It's hard to say. When are you going to visit Ukraine? I would like to visit as quick as possible, but right now I don't think there's any flights available, and it's you have to take a train from Poland. So when war is over, I'll be there right away, or at least if they can restore flights to Kiev, because otherwise the trip is getting so much extended, and I don't have a lot of vacation. Long story short, thank you for your support. You look like German Jurgen Klopp, Liverpool coach. I look like a lot of people. I constantly have people send me pictures. I look like Shurik from this Soviet era comedy. I look like some actor. They send me pictures. There's this silly Soviet pinup picture, and the guy on the picture looks like me. So yeah, that's. But as I said, I had a lot of times Germans started spreche the Deutsch to me here. So Ivan was wondering if I get my DNA, maybe there'll be something happened during World War II in my village, but nothing happened. All right, we got another donation from AB. Thank you so much for your generosity. Putin does same talking points as Republicans. Economy in USA is totally Biden's fault, and if we let Russia win, the U.S. economy will be okay. As if he cares about food prices while treating nuclear war. Yeah, there's quite a bit of similarities. I noticed, by the way, a lot of Russians here, Russian immigrants, they are they support Trump and they support Putin. I find this quite amazing. Like they were hardcore, all for Trump, and I was like, he's anti-immigration guy, so I don't understand how you, as an immigrant, could be for someone who is anti-immigration. And then at the same time they support Putin. So there's something there. There's some clicks there in both sides. So I'm not sure what is it, but yeah, it's like my best friend that we grew up together in Kiev. He actually he married the girl from Gomel from Belarus here in the United States, and they both hardcore Trumpers and hardcore Putin supporters. And like I don't talk to the guy anymore. And we were like good friends forever. What is the biggest? Okay, Joshua, thank you for your donation. Appreciated that. What is the biggest difference you see between your childhood and those of your children? Well, my children growing up here in America, um, it's definitely I my childhood was better, I think. Um, First of all, because of all this electronics, was nothing to watch on TV. I mean, it sounds horrible, but we had to go outside and play with other kids because it was literally like I was a latchkey kid, right? The one you always wear a key on your neck because your parents at work when you come from school. So uh, we spend all the time outside if it's not raining because you come home, you can watch TV because parents at work, but there's nothing to watch. There's three channels and they were showing like a Лебединое озеро, right? The Swan Lake Ballet or some other just boring stuff. So kids just we watched cartoons only in the evening. So I think my childhood was way more eventful. I had so much, like I tell my kids about all my adventures, and then of course every summer I went to the village to stay with my grandparents, and we had friends there. So we had some crazy stuff going on there, sneaking in and riding pigs, fish and all the kinds. Just my childhood, I think, was way more eventful. We were more healthier. We were always outside. And these kids, I'm horrified. They're all staring their phone. So I think I was lucky. I was in the Soviet Union was pretty decent. It's kind of in the end of the life of the Soviet Union, there was the most human-friendly uh, environment. During Stalin was horrible. It got a little bit better under Khrushchev. Then it got better under Brezhnev. So I was in the end of it. So my childhood was. I'm really happy what it was. There's some there's some stories I'll tell probably to my support the people that members of my channel, my patrons, because it's kind of a little bit gross stories, but it was a part of being outdoors a lot, I guess. Uh, Greetings from Australia by Estonian. Thank you, Tid. So okay, we got Bonzmo. Thank you again. Do you think Trump will run again in 2024 and possibly win? If so, how will that outcome affect the war in Ukraine and Russia? I don't think he's even gonna run personally. I right now don't follow really closely local politics. I actually would like to make a video about what would I do if I'll become a president of the States, and I know I can't at the current, but we can do another uh, constitutional amendment and let foreigners like me to run the show. So I have a great 10-pointer program that will make everyone's lives better. Of course, it will never become reality, but I'm thinking about making that video. I think Trump is running out of air. He was always full of hot air, and he's running out of it. Recently, I think what is a couple of his people he was promoting, they lost. So he's losing his credibility and his crowd. Uh, you can only play the same song for so long about fraud and fraud. Every time you lost, it's a fraud, and then people lose an interest. So I don't think you're gonna run, and I don't think you're gonna win if you're gonna run again. I mean, he lost to Biden, like out of you know Biden, the guy who doesn't remember where he left his slippers, who can he was I saw pictures of him was visiting Soviet Union when I was like 8 years old, and Biden was already in politics. So Biden managed to beat the great Trump. I mean, like, come on, it is like it's so embarrassing. Like, I won't be even talking about being reelected again. And a lot of Republicans, I mean, voted for Biden. They still voted for the other Republicans. If you look, this is like when I argue with people about this conversation that was, fraud. If fraud was so performed so flawlessly, that means the Democrats are super smart. I mean, you have to like really work on it for years. Like Putin was preparing for the war for years. It's not like he just overnight decided to attack Ukraine, right? So that was a giant project, purchasing this equipment and software from Cuba and Venezuela. Out of all places, Cuba and Venezuela, apparently they are hardcore programmers to cheat the elections, right? So they created all this system, and then when they changed the ballots and reprogrammed the ballots and brought these packs of new ballots, they forgot to mark all the Democrats. They marked Biden, and then they marked just randomly because there's, expectation was of this blue wave, and it never occurred. Democrats actually lost, right? Amount of That's why right now Biden's having a hard time to do anything because he doesn't have a majority, right? So Democrats on the like Congress level and Senate level, they lost seats. You can look it up how many. I'm just kind of trying going by my memory, but they just they just did okay. Let's do Biden. We don't care about the rest because we don't know how the government works. We don't need majority. We're just gonna cheat to make sure Biden is the president. But if that will be done for real like that, Democrats will have as much majority in the Congress as Putin has for his party. if you go, go big or go home. If you decided to cheat the election, take all this giant risk to break the law, might as well just put all your people in place. Like, Democrats didn't do that hot. They managed to take White House, but they didn't do that hot neither in Senate and Congress. And that's the proof that a lot of Republicans had enough of crazy Trump and they voted for Biden just like, just to get rid of Trump, but they still voted for their Republican candidates. Uh, if you ask me, previous election, and my wife is still mad at me. I vote based looking at people, not at the party. I voted very first time I could vote, I voted for Obama because he was talking about anti-war. It never happened during his first 4 years. So second time, I didn't vote for Obama. I voted for uh, Ron Paul. I actually had to write him in because in Michigan they even didn't let him to be on the ballot. Then, so yeah, I look at the personality. I don't like do automatically voting for everyone, Republican or Democrats. No, I need to see. And a lot of times I will choose candidates from Green Party or Libertarian Party just because I hate the whole idea that it's only two parties here, right? Okay, we got a big donation, so I have to answer that question quick. Phil, thank you so much for your support. Hello, Sergey. Hope all is well in Michigan. Thank you. Yeah, we're doing okay here. I was just watching your Chernobyl interview on the Cold War channel. It was good as always. Thank you so much, Phil. Yeah, by the way, I think there's a 6 videos on the Cold War channel with me. If you guys missed it somehow, you're welcome to check it out. They make a lot of videos. They do like every week. So yeah. So okay. So back to this election thing. So when it was 2016, right? I automatically knew I'm not gonna vote for Hillary. Like, nope, it's not happening. It's just no way. So back then, if there'll be no third option, I would vote for Trump. It's just because Hillary, I just couldn't stand her whole attitude and how she corrupt and how she just for money she will do anything. As I said, my wife's still mad at me. So yeah, but then I started listening to Trump and I was like, this guy is crazy and he's dangerous. So I couldn't vote for either, so I voted third party. And I actually predicted driving to election booth, I was like, I told my wife, I think Trump gonna win, and she was laughing at me like you are stupid, crazy. And I was like, I bet you $100 Trump will be the next one. And I never saw the $100, but I might get that $100 today. We got $78 in donations. But I kind of like, hey, I never seen so many because at that time I worked doing delivery of furniture, helping the store that my wife ran, and like there's Trump signs all over the neighborhoods, everywhere. It's like this is crazy. Um, but this last election, I was just like, I have to eat the shit sandwich and vote for Biden. It's just we need to get rid of Trump because Trump pretty much he wanted so badly to have America just like Putin has Russia. He's a great leader. Everyone is kissing his butt. Everyone votes for his stuff. Like you don't even, we need to just stop this whole silly system. I'll just be writing executive orders. Like, everyone was making fun of Obama writing record amount of executive orders, and I believe Trump beat Obama by writing amount of executive orders. He beat Obama by playing golf, but his really affection for the world worst guys like Putin and North Korean guy, I was like, this is not the way we need to go. But far right, that's what they're looking for. They want the great leader. Every country goes to this cycle when the fascism becomes like an attractive alternative. People getting so tired of democracy because nothing being done, nothing being completed because they just argue and they're coming up with new rules to make decisions harder. So like this need to have super majority to make. So they made so much more complicated to have anything done except vote for the war. That's they'll vote for the war right away. So yeah, somebody managed they missed $1.84 gas. Sure, we can shut down country again for coronavirus, and you will get again $1.50 a gallon, easy. The reason the gas prices were so low, we shut down the country. No one was flying. There's demand for oil dropped so much the prices collapsed. If you support American oil production, you should be so happy right now paying $5 a gallon because all the profits, all the fracking companies in the United States right now having a good old times. They check it out stock market for fracking companies. Those guys are doing fantastic. America is becoming great again. Those dollars go into the American oil production, so you should be super happy about $5 gallon prices. That's how I see it. I drive Prius. People used to look at me like I was a little bitch. Now they look at me like, haha. So, this the whole thing is about these gas prices. Um, I'm gonna make a video, but okay, a little preview. When I see how much Americans cry about gas prices, I was like, you like socialism. You want government to take care of you. You want government to make the law and fix the price at $1.49 a gallon forever. You know, shoot, we can do like Venezuela did, do 25 cents a gallon. Who cares about those profits for the oil companies? Everyone likes capitalism when it offers you great choices at low prices. But capitalism, it's a stick with two ends. So the other end of the stick is when demand is high, supply is low, price will take care of it. And that's what everyone starts screaming. Every time that part of capitalism shows its ugly teeth, suddenly everyone wants socialism. We want government to help us to keep prices low. That's all government fault. I didn't know Biden worked at the oil industry. People acting like, when Biden got elected as the president, he quit his working on an oil rig and prices for oil started going up. Like, he has nothing to do. Like, you want government to deal with oil prices for you, to take care of you? It's like, come on, be realistic. This is capitalism. It's when demand collapsed, they lost a bunch of money because they didn't know what to do with their oil, so they cut production. Now they slowly ramping it up, but demand went back up again. So yeah, and of course, war didn't help much either. Oh, thank you. I was waiting for this comment. He did cancel uh, Keystone XL pipeline. You're totally correct. But now, can you please type me, Jeremy, how many gallons of oil were moving on Keystone XL pipeline? How many gallons an hour were pumping from Canada on that pipeline? Zero. So how much you can affect the oil market and oil market prices by removing 0 gallons of oil being pumped on a pipeline that doesn't exist? Keystone Pipeline is in business and they pumping Canadian oil. So you support Canada that using oil profits to pay for their socialist medical services. It doesn't help American oil industry because it's a pipeline of Canadian company to pump Canadian oil. So, well, I'm happy for you, Jeremy, but I'm just saying it didn't affect nothing. And you guys should just stop destroying the environment with that sand, oil from sand. My God, you destroy an environment there. Holy crap. So anyway, so this is the topic is pretty painful, but I said everyone right now making good money for American oil companies. They all show record quarters, but I said right now suddenly everyone wants government get involved. Yeah, they send down to refineries down to the south because those refineries can process heavy oil from Canada because refineries were built for processing heavy oil from Venezuela. I personally, and I know a lot of people are gonna hate me for saying that, I like $5 gallon prices because I'm just sick and tired of seeing these ginormous F-350s, Tremors, giant pickup trucks. One person drives to work 30 or 50 miles one way. I was like, You don't need this. The only reason you drive is because oil is so cheap. If you, this is what people pay in Europe every day. They pay $5, $6 a gallon. That's why they will drive small cars. You know, oil, gasoline in America is ridiculously cheap. This is why everyone drives these huge vehicles because it's so cheap. So uh, having $5 a gallon could reduce amount of people died in the accidents because when this giant SUV or pickup truck plows on a person or bike or somebody who rides the bicycle, that pedestrian or the guy who rides the bike or motorcycle, they have no chance. Like car, it's you have a chance to survive. The question, what car do you drive? I drive Toyota Prius. My other car is a Honda HRV, small little SUV for the winter time. And I drive a lot. I have to drive about 30 miles in a carpool to work. So as I said, I always, okay, my idea of the car vehicle, it should be at least 30 miles per gallon and should have a hatchback so it's be practical. So that's how I look at my vehicles. I don't need to have a pickup truck because I'm a dude, right? For a lot of Americans, I find it silly. Like I'm a guy, I'm a man, so there's a part of me wearing pants and driving pickup truck, even if I don't need it. It's interesting. I'm glad I'm European, so I don't have that mentality. I can tell you, I started driving when I was 27 here in America. I never had a car back in the Soviet days. I was on the waiting list for Lada, for Vaz, Zhiguli, but that was 9 years. But what if you have a small penis? How can you drive Prius? Oh, it's funny. So I was 27-year old when I learned to drive automatic. I even don't drive stick. I have to admit it to you. So my first car I bought for 1500 was 1988 Chevy Astra van. After that, I drove Suzuki Esteem station wagon. Best car ever. Best car ever. I drove it for 12 years. I bought it for $4,800. Sold it for $1,800 12 years later. 32, 35 miles per gallon. Station wagon. A lot of room. Fantastic car. And then I got another Suzuki. That one wasn't good. And then Prius and the Honda. So I would like to buy American vehicles, but they make cars crappy quality, and I don't need SUV. Like I don't go off road, and I don't see a reason why I need the SUV to drive on the road. It's like you don't need a Camel if you don't ride in the desert. I don't need an off-road vehicle to drive on the roads. It's just stupid. All right, so we got another donation. Thank you so much. I only need a pickup truck once every 3 5 years. I just rent one if I need it. I just go to my friends who all have pickup trucks and they can help me out. You can rent it, yeah. And when we used to have a furniture store, my in-laws, we had a Sprinter. That was better than any pickup truck. And another one question donation. Thank you so much. What do you think about American gun culture? Oh, that's a question. I for the American gun culture, I'm a strict supporter of the Second Amendment. I'm so strict that most supporters of Second Amendment hate me because I strongly believe that only members of well-regulated militia have the right to own the guns. It says right there, well-regulated militia. It's like on the door, there's a sign, well-regulated militia only. You open the door, and that's what the guns. You get your training, you get your all stuff they needed to handle the guns. And sure, if you're not part of well-trained militia, it should be hard, it should be expensive, and it should be people who know what they're doing. Because, and I have myself a, let's see. I have myself a Mosin Nagant rifle, which I shot only once when I bought it. And they sold me, and I was like, "Are you crazy? Like, you're just gonna sell it to me like that?" And they're like, "Yeah." I was like, "You don't need some kind of paperwork. I'm not crazy." They're like, "No, we just look at your driver's license, enter something. It looks like you're okay." Like, you gotta be kidding me. So no training. Don't always treat your gun like it's always loaded. I didn't know anything. Here you go. It's like sink or swim. And also have a revolver, also in a gun. So, well-regulated militia. It says it right there in the Second Amendment. I don't know how people miss that part. It's what I see. It's a similar, like, if you come to the bathroom door and it has a picture of the girl on the door. So can you go through that door in that bathroom if you're a dude? Of course you can. You're human. There's a picture of the human on the door, and I'm human too. This is how people look at the Second Amendment. No, it says all the people. Later it says all the people hold a gun. Doesn't matter what says on the sign, well-regulated militia. Doesn't matter there's a girl on the door in the bathroom. I still can use it as a toilet, matches my butt. It just shows that humans can use this bathroom. This is what I see. It got hijacked in the 80s when I don't know how they managed to pull it, but for 200 some years, it was well understood that it's all about state rights versus federal rights. So federal government cannot disarm local militia. That's the whole Second Amendment was about, right? And right now, it's the National Guard, the American militia. It's what National Guard is. So yeah, join the National Guard, enjoy the benefits, and enjoy the responsibilities. They might send you somewhere in the desert to fight someone, but you'll be well trained and you know how to handle weapons. You can look at example of most armed nation in the world, which is Switzerland. They all have military service. Everyone goes through military service, and they get the gun and they keep the guns. How many mass shootings we heard of in Switzerland? None. The last one happened like in 80s or something. The Second Amendment protects us from tyranny. I don't know about that. I mean, a lot of people who love second part of the Second Amendment, they wanted Trump to be president, and they stormed the Capitol to keep the tyrant at power. So I'm not sure if it protects you from tyranny. It maybe used to protect back in the 1800s, but doesn't protect really well in the modern technologies when you have drones and missiles. How much you can do with a rifle when they have Hellfire missiles aim at you. So, all right. Anyway, guys, well, thank you so much for joining. But yeah, it sounds good, but yeah, you join National Guard and protect yourself from the tyranny. No problem. That's why militia was created, right? So, all right, guys. So I will be here with you for an hour. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining. We'll be working on my next video. I have a long question here, so I'm gonna be reading and answering. And also, I just might as well show you. So this is how I create my videos. And by the way, if you guys interested, any of you who are my supporters, like members of my channel, I decided to keep this. So this is how I record my stories, and I actually decided I'm signing and putting the date. So if you support my channel, if you're interested in one of those copies, I'll mail it to you for supporting me. Just shoot me an email at sergeysputnikov@gmail.com, and I can send you those. So yeah, some of them, also the back part. So like this is my next project of being a Ukrainian. And this is also, back of it is my copies of my second book, American Diaries 1996. So anyway, thanks everyone for joining. I appreciate you. We got 141 likes, we got some donation, appreciate it a lot. Okay, I have to answer this. For a lot of Americans I've talked to, from Joshua, they have a big car and a big gun for the same small reason in their pants. I honestly, don't know. A lot of people that work, like we have security officers, and they have the biggest trucks. They make way less money, but they have a truck that's way more expensive. For me, vehicle is a device that moves my butt from point A to point B, and it needs to be done the cheapest way. I don't see the point to have any super nice vehicle because, okay, for example, if I buy Maserati, whatever, or BMW, because it's so easy to spell, right? Um, how many chicks will I pick up driving from work to work? None. So it's like all this giant investment. Like I don't need. If there'll be like single guy living in a big city, you want to pick up specific kind of chicks, maybe you need some fancy car. I just need to get from A to B, and it shouldn't cost much. Yeah, buy a Lada for nostalgia. I don't have nostalgia for Lada because I never had a Lada, and it's a manual. It would be kind of fun, but I said it's a lot of here in America. You had a car as a teenager, your first kiss, your first base, second base, third base on the back seat of your car. So you have this whole environment, this memory trip, for your old cars. So then you see when you're in your 50s in your 60s, you see the same car you used to have as a teenager and you want to buy it because it will bring these memories. I understand that. I never had it. I used public transportation. So when I see big LAZ bus, I was like, oh, I remember riding that thing. So yeah, for me, it's like I have totally, like I said, I didn't make out. I didn't mess with girls in the backseat of the car ever. Like I never had anything sexual. It happened in the car. So for me, car doesn't click. Neither Volga, so many of those. So I think they're cool, but I don't have any really things for that. So anyway, thanks so much for joining. I'll let you guys go. I appreciate everyone who joined me today, and we'll talk to you soon. До свидания. Goodbye.